Hello, everyone. This is my presentation over tort liability. What is tort? Tort can be defined as a civil wrong for which a remedy may be obtained, usually in the form of damages. Tort normally involves a state law and is based on the idea that individuals are liable for the consequences of their conduct. In an educational setting, teachers are liable for acts that may cause injury to a student while under the teacher's supervision. Intentional tort is when there is an offense committed by an individual who intends to do harm to another person or understands that his or her actions, may cause harm. The other type of tort is negligence, which is the failure to exercise the standard of care that a reasonable, prudent person would have exercised in that similar situation. So the first case that I found was Flanagan versus Canton. What happened was a middle school student died after another student pushed him from behind, causing him to fall into a locker and a bench. This happened while his gym teacher was out of the locker room. Um, the first reaction would have been after the incident, I would have had to set a precedent of what would be the expectations going forward of gym teacher supervision while students are changing in the locker room. And to prevent this from happening, I would have character education lessons once a week. Especially for middle schools, this is a really important time to correctly teach them how to treat others. Especially where I'm at in sixth grade, we do character education lessons twice a week in our homeroom, and I think it's great. And I think something as simple as that may prevent something like this happening. Professional ethics that are set in advance would give teachers appropriate procedures to follow, and those would be tailored to specific situations. So it wouldn't just be a general professional ethic, it would be something that is specific to a gym teacher, specific to a music teacher, those teachers that aren't in a normal classroom setting. The second tort case I found was a Cormier versus the city of Lynn. An elementary student was pushed down a set of stairs, which resulted in permanent paralysis. School was sued for negligence and not implementing their own anti-bullying policies. Immediately after, we would look at the policies that were set in place about supervision in the hallway, but the staff wasn't complying with those policies. So what we'd have to do is we'd have to talk about how to handle complaints about bullying. And in this case, there were multiple complaints filed to the school, but nothing was done. So in order to create that safe environment that we're going for, is we need to take every bullying complaint seriously. So we would have to go back to our staff policies regarding bullying complaints and talk about the protocol for what each individual teacher needs to do if someone is reporting a bullying incident. And then before this, what we could have done before is just to make sure that every teacher knows what to do when they're handling bullying cases. It may be something that wasn't covered, that because there was multiple complaints about bullying with specific students, and it just over time it kept going and going and going, and then it ended up leading to this when it shouldn't have. And lastly, creating these policies would create a safe environment for students and parents to report bullying cases, and just to make sure that whenever a student complains about bullying, it's not even a complaint. Whenever a student reports a bullying incident, it should be taken seriously. And no matter if that student is telling the truth or not, we should do the due process to decide that. The next case was Frame versus Comey. A middle school student was forcibly removed from the classroom after being asked multiple times to leave. The student then filed suit against the teacher for battery and assault. In this case, administration would meet with the teacher, the student, and other witnesses to see what happened leading up to the battery and everything after. This would help get the story straight instead of having student's word versus teacher's word. So right after the incident, we're going to the teacher in question and the student in question. We're getting both of their sides of the story. And then we're going to ask the other witnesses in the class to see what their side of the story, to see which one matches up. This takes all of the he said, she said out of the picture. Before this, to prevent this, we need to make sure that there's a protocol of what each teacher should be doing if there's a student who is not wanting to leave. Each teacher needs to know who can come in and get them out. A teacher should never put his hands on a student, so there needs to be training before the hand on what should happen in this moment. The ethics that should be put in place regarding teachers physically touching students, these need to be shared with teachers in practice so everyone can make the correct judgment in the heat of the moment. It's easy to read a policy, but to go through different scenarios, talk about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, that will help teachers have a better grasp on when the time comes, what they need to be doing and what they should not be doing. Stevens versus the Des Moines School District. A middle school student was beaten by another student in the hallway during passing period. The school was then sued for allegedly failure to warn potential victims and also failure to supervise the students. So before this, what we need to be doing is we need to, immediately after, we need to review the incident with staff members to discuss the expectations for hallway supervision during passing periods. I've been there. You just get done with the class. It's passing period. You just want to sit down and take a minute to relax. But then you do that, and something like this happens, and it could be your fault. Before this happens, we need to set the specific expectations before the school year in order to ensure that hallways are a safe place for all students transitioning to classes. And the professional ethics, we need to have these safety expectations to make it clear for all teachers to be on the same page regarding their role in keeping the hallways safe. The last case that I found was Barnett versus Caldwell. This was a high school student died after engaging in horseplay with another student while his teacher was out of the room. Immediately following, whether it's at the next in-service meeting or just the next school day, we would be going over what supervision looks like compared to unsupervision, compared to unsupervised. We would look at the school board policies and compare what teachers can and can't do regarding leaving a class with students in it. This reactive meeting could take place at an in-service meeting before the school. At this meeting, everything that happened in the reactive meeting could have happened in a proactive meeting, and we would go over professional ethics to determine what training teachers would need so they know that what you can and can't do regarding leaving a class that is full. This would also be a great time to establish a list of teachers or paras that could watch your class if you had to step out for an emergency. And looking at this case, it was reported that the teacher left at 2:45 and didn't get back until 3:15. So understanding, obviously there was some sort of miscommunication or the teacher just flat out ignored the rules, but understanding that we just simply can't be gone from a classroom for half an hour. It doesn't matter if there is an emergency, emergencies do happen, but if we do have to leave, making sure we know, is there a school SRO that could come in? Is there a para that doesn't have a class? Is there someone in the office that could come and stand in while we have to get out? So it seems like with a lot of these tort cases that I reviewed today, a lot of them happen not in a classroom setting, whether it's the hallway, in the bathrooms, just before school, after school, lining up for recess. Just understanding the expectations of what teachers need to be doing in those times is going to be very key for me if I ever if I ever get into an educational leadership role, making sure that teachers know their expectations at all times and what they should be doing and what they shouldn't be doing. Thank you for watching.